First, though, on Discovery, Arthur C. Clarke searches for the truth behind the countless sightings of UFOs.
Are we being watched by aliens from outer space? Are these the craft they're using to visit us? Did this Scottish forester really have a close encounter in this lonely glade? And what does this classic UFO film show? A flying saucer or something more down to earth? Mysteries from the Files of Arthur C. Clarke, author of 2001 and inventor of the communications satellite. Now in retreat in Sri Lanka after a lifetime of science, space and writing, he ponders the riddles of this and other worlds.
I think I can claim to be a reluctant expert on UFOs. I've been interested in them for almost 50 years, long before the phrase flying saucers was invented. UFOs are very common. If you've never seen one, you're either unobservant or you live in a cloudy area. I've seen half a dozen good ones, and now I have some very definite opinions on the subject.
It was just before midnight on December the 30th, 1978, that this Argosy aircraft took off in New Zealand on a newspaper delivery run. It followed the route taken 10 days earlier by a plane which had reported weird flying objects off the Kaikoura coast, objects confirmed by radar controllers in Wellington. Now a TV crew was on board with Australian reporter Quentin Fogarty.
We're now approaching the Clarke River, where the highest concentration of UFOs was sighted on the morning of December the 21st. We're at an altitude of 14,000 feet, and we're on exactly the same route taken by Captain Powell when he encountered those mysterious objects. It's a beautiful, clear night outside, and naturally we'll be looking out for anything unusual.
Hardly had Fogarty spoken when things began to happen.
We've just heard from Wellington radar that we've got an object about a mile behind us and it's following us. Let's hope they're friendly. It's really getting a bit frightening up here. There's a whole formation of unidentified flying objects behind us.
But there were closer encounters to come. On the return journey from Christchurch, Fogarty spotted another object.
It's extremely bright, much brighter than any of the other stars in the sky. Now it's just dimmed, it's gone. It's back again. It appears to be going behind cloud. I can't quite make out whether it in fact is going behind cloud or whether in fact the light is just dimming. No, it's such a bright light, it's lighting up the clouds around it. This is by far the best of the unidentified flying objects we've seen so far. According to our cameraman, David Crockett, who's been filming it for the past few moments, it appears to have a brightly lit bottom and a transparent sort of sphere on top. So it appears to be, well, like a flying saucer. Got another one right in front of us, very bright, giving off an orange flashing light. It looks like an aircraft beacon. It seems to be rolling and turning. Oh, I don't know. I really don't know what's going on.
After the plane landed at Blenheim, the investigation began. Skeptics suggested they'd seen the planet Venus, but most of the film was taken more than half an hour before Venus could have been visible. An American Navy physicist, Dr. Bruce Maccabee, analyzed the film. and rejected theories that it showed meteors or ships or birds. Several of the objects had shown up on radar screens. One of them had left this extraordinary trail on a single frame of film. And although the start of this sequence is out of focus, some frames seem to show what the TV crew and pilots said they'd seen: a luminous base with a transparent top. Dr. Maccabee's conclusion: no known explanation could account for all the facts. Trying to trap a UFO is now big business. In the scrubland of Texas, Ray Stanford heads Project Starlight International with $1 million worth of equipment. The laser is to signal to spaceships his goggles in case they answer back. The aim is to use the highest technology to establish beyond doubt that craft from other times or worlds are visiting the Earth. Centerpiece of Project Starlight's armory is a computer to monitor UFO activities in the area.
When if this line doesn't begin to show up, I'll,
This is an Operation Argus alert. Please proceed as you've been instructed.
The computer automatically calls up spotters to scan the skies. And it really hits the panic button if a landing is indicated. With techniques like these, Stanford hopes to add to the evidence he's already amassed. Like this film he shot at Corpus Christi in Texas in 1959.
after extensive endeavor to explain it, neither the Air Force nor the National Investigation Committee on Aerial Phenomena could come up with any ordinary explanation. I don't know what it was, but it was tubular and bright, and small objects came and departed at high speed. We have motion picture films, magnetometer recordings, sound recordings, and a whole variety of data that begin to make us think that UFOs are technological, that they're really not something natural after all, but something not only technological, but highly sophisticated and capable of speeds and accelerations far beyond anything that we've ever dreamed of. In fact, we've really been surprised at how fast these things can move that we've tracked. And frankly, I would say that they simply don't originate on the Earth, at least any place on the Earth that I know of.
It was this man, Kenneth Arnold, from Boise in Idaho, who ushered in the era of the flying saucer. On June the 24th, 1947, he took off from this airfield at Chehalis in Washington State and headed for the high Cascade Mountains. A member of the Idaho Search and Rescue Organization, his intention was to look for a crashed military aircraft. But as he scoured the slopes of Mount Rainier, something happened to change his life and trigger off a worldwide obsession that endures to this day.
At this point is when I would say approximately is where I had this terrific flash hit the air. My aircraft lit up the inside of my aircraft, and I assumed, of course, at the time in a split second that it was probably a P-51 fighter that had dove over my nose, and that it was the sun's reflecting upon his bright wing surfaces that caused it. However, before I gathered my wits together, I looked way off here to the north, and then when I saw where the flash came from, it was an echelon formation of very peculiar-looking aircraft, and they were rapidly approaching Mount Rainier. And it was at about this point when I got here, I could see their tail surfaces, or the rear end of them, and the second craft from the rear had a more or less crescent-shaped look, and it had a hole in the center of it. And of course, I kept mulling in my mind, that's the damnedest looking airplane I ever saw.
Arnold timed the craft as they sped between two mountain peaks almost 50 miles apart.
I looked at my sweep second hand on my 24-hour clock, and they had covered this distance of approximately 50 miles in 1 minute and 42 seconds. It was placing their speed at approximately 1,700 miles an hour, 1,781 it came out at that distance. which was, of course, unheard of in 1947.
He abandoned his search and landed. Later, he was besieged by reporters, and one of them asked him how the objects flew.
I says, well, I tell you, they flew like, erratically like a saucer would if you skipped it across the water. And, of course, then, all of a sudden, the term flying disc and this type of thing, or crescent-shaped or whatnot, was completely dropped, and everybody started seeing flying saucers. And they've been seeing them ever since.
And photographing them, too. Anywhere from Australia, where a sheep farmer took this strange shot, to America and this 1950 classic from McMinnville in Oregon. Some pictures show such detail that skeptics simply scoff. Others are more enigmatic. This is from Madre de Dios in Peru. This was taken by teenager Stephen Pratt at Conisborough in Yorkshire. Pictures can be faked, and eyewitnesses can be mistaken. The object reported here to be bluish at first, then red and luminous, was almost certainly Venus. The witness, Jimmy Carter, later President of the United States. Sometimes hundreds of people can be fooled. Many thought this apparition over the Rocky Mountains was a spaceship. In fact, it was a large meteorite which grazed the Earth's atmosphere 40 miles up and then bounced off forever into space.